Tots Kulawit. I'm going to give a greeting for today's afternoon event.
Tatsalach oe kaloma, liloitza. Nunwasi klaudiwama kahimiuma. Good afternoon, everyone who's gathered here. Welcome. I'm happy that you are here. We are all friends and relatives here. My name is Beth Piatote, and I'm the director of the Arts Research Center and associate professor of English and comparative literature here at UC Berkeley. It's my great pleasure to open this final event of our Reclamation Poetry Gathering. I want to open our meeting with gratitude, which is a practice I learned from the poet and beautiful human No'u Revia. I want to begin by thanking my Yatsa, my older brother, Philip Kashkash, for blessing us with beautiful music as we were coming in. I'm grateful to the Ohlone homelands on which we gather, and to the Ohlone people who have always and will always be here. May we each commit our hearts and our material resources to the well-being of the local Ohlone community. I am grateful for the 19 Poetry and the Census Fellows who traveled here this weekend to share their work. It is a great joy that every single person came. I'm grateful for your voices, for your words, your songs, your talent, and your courage. I'm grateful for your songs and poems that insist on care, protection, and justice for the people of Palestine. I'm grateful for the gifts of the workshop facilitators, Craig Santos Perez and Natalie Diaz, for leading the biweekly workshops over 2 semesters last year and continuing to share generously with us this weekend, including at our reading today. We are grateful to the artist and writer Tanya Luken-Linkletter for leading a workshop for us this morning, and for the fellows of the Indigenous Poetics Lab for joining us. We're thankful to every person who is with us in the room today. I'm grateful for the hard work of Professor Natalia Brizuela, the former director of the Arts Research Center, who worked with Mona Abadir, the CEO of the Engaging the Senses Foundation, to envision and generously fund the Poetry in the Senses Fellowships 5 years ago. The concept was both glorious and simple. Pay poets money. Let me start again. Pay poets money. Everybody, pay poets money. Beautiful. Provide a structure for community. Throw in a few pens, some notebooks, some snacks, and poetry will issue forth into the world. We are grateful for this vision and for this work, and for the previous directors, Julia Brian Wilson and Chai Elliott. We're grateful that Professor Brizuela is with us today and has kindly agreed to introduce the poets on the program today. I am grateful for the 44 poets and all of their poems, publications, and performances that have happened over the past 4 years of this program. I am grateful for all that is yet to come of this. I thank our hosts today, BAMPFA, for generous co-sponsorship of this event, and to our other university partners, including the Department of English, the Townsend Center for Humanities, the Center for Race and Gender, and the Office of the Dean of Arts and Humanities. I thank the administrative assistants from Lily G, Eva Whitney, Gianni Ponce, and Amanda Ticine. And all of us are exceedingly grateful for the leadership and organizational work of Lori McPhee. Lori! The Associate Director of the Arts Research Center, who has shepherded this program from the very beginning. And I am grateful for words, for our mother languages, our indigenous languages, our sonic worlds, our resonant bodies, all of our waters converging and flowing. The theme over the past year and in this culminating event is reclamation, an act of taking back what belongs to us, what we belong to. My favorite image of reclamation is one that I learned from Natalie Diaz, who noted that one of the origins of reclamation is an early 14th century French term, which is to call back a hawk to the glove. That is what we have been sharing this weekend. The language, the history, the life that we are calling back, that is winging its way back home to us. Once again, I thank you all for joining us on this beautiful afternoon. We are blessed today with rain, which captures our feeling of sadness that we're coming to the conclusion of the program, but also fills us with a sense of rebirth and generativeness for everything that we are carrying forward. Following this reading, we'll have a book signing in the lobby and time to connect. BAMPFA bookstore has copies of our readers' books and also copies of Tanya Luken-Linkletter's book and Dwayne Linkletter's catalog. I think they may be milling about too, so I see them, so you can catch them too. I encourage you to spend time in the main gallery featuring the stunning work of Cree artist Dwayne Linkletter's My Mother's Side. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up at the arts.berkeley.edu for our newsletter, follow us on our social media, and join us for future Arts Research Center events. Again, katsiyaya, thank you. Katsiyaya timnepe. Thank you, katsiyaya timne kinish, from my heart. I'll now invite Professor Brizuela to the stage to introduce our readers today.
Hello, can people hear me? Is the volume okay? As Beth said, my name is Natalie Brizuela, and I'm a professor here at UC Berkeley in the departments of Film and Media and Spanish and Portuguese. And I want us all to thank Beth, because Beth thanked so many people, which is the right thing to do, but we need to thank Beth. I mean, what Beth has brought to campus and beyond campus through her directorship of the Arts Research Center is just, beyond words extraordinary. And this is the culmination of just one of the many things that Beth has been doing at the Arts Research Center. I'm in awe of being able to just introduce the three extraordinary poets and writers that are going to be sharing their work with us today. And that's going to be the focus of the next couple minutes. But I just also wanted to say that I particularly feel very thankful. I was here yesterday during the extraordinary readings that the fellows offered and shared, and I was very moved by the presence of Palestine. And Palestine is still present here today. And in the midst of the ongoing genocide, I am thankful for all these indigenous writers who have been working and continue working on their own languages and their own memories and their own reclamations to remind us of the importance of keeping Palestine really close with us today. I'm going to introduce the three poets in the order in which they'll speak. And as Beth said, after the readings, there will be a book signing outside, so please stick around. So Beth Piatote is a creative writer, a playwright, and a scholar. She's the author of 2 books, including the mixed genre collection, The Beadworkers, Stories, woo! From 2019, which was longlisted for the Aspen Words Literary Prize and the Penn Bingham Prize, and shortlisted for a California Independent Booksellers Association Prize for fiction. Her short stories and poems have appeared in Poetry, Kenyon Review, Epiphany, World Literature Today, and numerous other journals and anthologies. She has 2 books forthcoming. When will they be out, Beth? We are dying to read them. A poetry collection titled Nez Perce, Word for Shark, and a collection of essays titled Living with History, Notes on the Indigenous Everyday. She's an associate professor of comparative literature and English and director of the Arts Research Center here at UC Berkeley. She is Nez Perce, enrolled with the Colville Confederated Tribes. And I had the honor of co-teaching a class with Beth some years ago where I taught. It was kind of strange because we were co-teaching and I was teaching Beth's work in the class. And I have to say that of the entire set of readings and things we studied, Beth's work was one of the class's favorite. After Beth, we'll have Natalie Diaz reading. Natalie Diaz was born on Fort Mojave Indian Village in Needles, California, on the banks of the Colorado River. She is Mojave and an enrolled member of the Gila River Indian tribe. Diaz is the author of Post-Colonial Love Poem, winner of the Pulitzer Prize in Poetry, finalist for the National Book Award, Forward Prize in Poetry, and Los Angeles Times Book Prize, and winner of a Publishing Triangle Award. Her first book, When My Brother Was an Aztec, was winner of an American Book Award. She's a MacArthur Foundation Fellow, a Lannan Literary Foundation Fellow, a Native Arts and Culture Foundation Fellow. This question of the foundation and the fellow. As I was writing out this today, I was like, the foundation fellow. And it was like, we got to think about that. And a former Princeton University Hodder Fellow. No foundation there. Diaz is founding director of the Center for Imagination in the Borderlands and the Maxine and Jonathan Mardwell Chair in Modern and Contemporary Poetry at Arizona State University. Diaz resides in Phoenix, Arizona, but is currently living in Brooklyn as a Mellon Foundation Research Residency Fellowship and the Senior Fellow at the New School Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy. Last but not least, we will have Craig Santos Perez reading, who's an indigenous Chamoru from the Pacific Islands of Guam. He holds an MFA in creative writing from the University of San Francisco and a PhD in ethnic studies from the University of California, Berkeley. Welcome back, Craig, for whatever that means. He is the co-editor of 8 anthologies and the author of 6 books of poetry and the academic monograph, Navigating Chamoru Poetry, Indigeneity, Aesthetics, Colonization. Craig is the National Book Award winner for From Incorporated Territory, Amat, which features experimental and visual poems diving into the history and culture of the poet's homeland, Guam. This book is the 5th collection in Craig Santos Perez's ongoing former Incorporated Territory series about the history of the Western Pacific Islands of Guam and the culture of its indigenous Chamoru people. Please join me in welcoming our 3 extraordinary poets. Woo! Woo!
Surprise, I'm back. Thank you so much, Natalia. That was so beautiful. It's awards season, so as Craig knows, he just picked up some medal. I like to read those red carpet stories, and there was an article in the New York Times with the headline, "When Stars Want to Go Big, They Go Red." And the context of this poem that I'm going to start with is that a few years ago, there was a movement in Canada that started of artists wearing red to bring attention to the situation of murdered and missing Indigenous women. So this poem is called Tantu Cardinal is Wearing Red. Tantu Cardinal is wearing red at the Critics' Choice Awards, bright as lipstick, but plain in shape, as only sequined sleeves and panels let a playful touch to the otherwise simple gown. No crimson bows, no keyhole neckline, no ruby puffs of marabou feathers, no claret bodice sewn in lace or grand cascading train, no scarlet hot pants or strapless gown shimmering in vermilion pallier, no roses blossoming across the shoulder, no cutaway sides or fishtail skirt. Tantu Cardinal walks the red carpet. She wears a long red dress, bright as fresh blood, and all the blooming flowers are missing. The second poem is, I was so inspired by our amazing poets who would get up and say, I just wrote this yesterday, or here's a work in progress. So I want to share a work in progress. I'm not sharing this because all the others are perfect. This particular work is a work in progress, and I want to share it today, not because it's finished, but because I'm working on it, and because this is an occasion for me to say what I think poetry is for. For me, poetry is a chance to learn my language, but it's also a chance to bring our attention to life-giving forces. And a few weeks ago, I received a letter from an incarcerated person, and he had read my book, and he was writing in response to it. And one of the things that he wrote in this beautiful letter was, "Some days thinking of horses is the only thing that keeps me alive." So I'm in the process of writing a poem that I can send back. I'm going to send him a horse. So this is called "Some Days Thinking of Horses." 15 hands of muscle and buck, black as night, the mare arches her neck and passes the gate, head down, no care for metal detectors or guards, her hooves unshod as your soul alone. 15 hands and 1,000 pounds of justice trots through the cells, a light shaft of animal possibility. She knows the rope of human cruelty. She kicks down the door, offers her back to carry. 15 hands can lead you to water for your parched imagination, your thirsting soul searching to live through dark hours, days when only the thought of her soft eyes and powerful haunches keeps you alive. 15 years, 20 a sentence, lonely as night, a horse will save you, give you to rest a weary face on her warm neck. Your 2 hands grab ebony mane, she lifts you, then a breath, her body heaves forward, her nostrils flare, her hot breath cuts wire, and you hold on. Thank you. I love to show how beautiful our Nez Perce grammar is, and our Nez Perce words, and our Nez Perce worlds. And so I'm going to read a very, I wrote a poetry cycle, a series of short poems to try to demonstrate our beautiful grammar. So in Nez Perce, we have a verb in the middle of the word, and then we have prefixes that are the who and the how, and suffixes that are the when and the where. And so in our language, that central verb can connect many things that are not connected in English. And so in the dictionary, under the word for pitney, to come out, there were 80 example sentences, but there are hundreds and hundreds of words that you can make using the central verb of to come out. And so I'm just going to read 4 very short little meditations that connect these concepts, drawing on a sample sentence from the dictionary and showing how our beautiful grammar thinks. And this poem is called "I Cause My Heart to Pour Out is How to Say Remember." 1, Pitnisa, I'm coming out of the forest. I'm coming out of the forest, my hair carrying the scent of fire, and my body uncertain of needles. Are they sharp or soft? What I knew before, I no longer know. I saw a doe lying in a pool of water, not dead, but still, small capsule of fur and hoof, curve of back. I came close. Her haunches were stone, smooth rock, worn by water, her hind legs knit into rufous mud, and emerald skin of moss her belly. She opened her eyes and breathed, though not a fish, and I am pitiful, a pitiful human, afraid that the forest will swallow me too. I mark the place where I saw her, and I come out of the forest, thirsty. Supnisa, to sow, and it's the prefix sharp object comes out. I sew. I sew a red dress to bring my sister home. I seam a red dress to sew her to myself. I see, I fight, sharp object comes out. I sew a red dress to seam my sister home. I sew a red dress to seam my sister. I seam a red dress. I sew for redress. I so want my sister home. I see red. I sew dress. I sew red. Eyes so red. I sow, I sow, I. Hitkapnisa, it pours out or it flows out. This is how you talk about a river. Hitkapnisa, the river swiftly flows. She is muscle and tenderness, churn and eddy, smart and sexy. By day, she's a party girl, laughing too loud. You know what I mean. Here, have another drink. When she comes in, a path clears. Tule and willow bow down, the valley splits. She goes where she wants because she can. Her neck drips with diamonds in sun. She opens wide her arms. Heron moves through her shallows. Golden eye nibbles at her fingers, and kingfisher waits on a wire. In twilight, moose lies down, and bear comes out to nuzzle. Flowers sigh and close their eyes. At night, she makes even the moon shy, the way she moves those dark hips, and oh, the sounds she makes. Oh, she is just too much with that mouth, that body, too big, too loud, too hungry, too wild. She is the life of the party. That river is one fast gal. So the fourth little piece is Sepet Mipnisa, which is I remember or I cause my heart to pour out. I cause my heart to pour out is how to say remember, or perhaps my heart causes to pour out. It's hard to translate causative plus heart plus pour out in words. Better to let my body translate. When I remember you, your hand is in mine again, and your dreams ride a tandem bicycle with mine. You stop at the Elm City Market for milk on the way home. I remember you, and then I must stop remembering and cut off my hands again and flatten the tires and give back the key. But when the grammar is like this, Sepet Mipnisa, your touch aches my blood, your voice spills from my eyes. Everything you ever gave me belongs to me and flows. Okay. The next piece is, sometimes I use poems to just examine one word. And so this poem is a contrapuntal poem, so it can be read across. It's in 3 columns. It can be read across or down. And I'm going to read it both ways. That's two poems in one. And the poem is called Soch. And Soch is the word for spoon. It's also a sound effect for the sound of blood gushing out. And there's a reference in this poem to one of our amazing stories in which the cannibal's wife escapes. So, what is your soch, your spoon, shard of mountain sheep horn or dry knuckle of tree, a curve of silver your grandmother stowed in apron pocket, a cradle used to stay calm, to stay? Your soch comes from earth, animal, plants, mineral. Ask yourself 20 questions. How many times did soch save you? Coyote always carried a spoon to join anyone's feast. Such things believe in generosity. Always carry a spoon, not a knife, to feast. The sound of soch is onomatopoetic, is the sound of blood gushing out after wounding. Soch, soch, soch. Knife beats spoon sometimes. The wife of cannibal had a soch poilu. Cannibal wanted to feast on wooden spoon. She took the spoon and the baby. She said, "Spoon, become a canoe. It will save us." A canoe carried them away. What is your soh? Sheep horn or silver your grandmother used? Your soh plants plant 20 questions. Did you join anyone's feast in generosity? To feast is the sound of wounding sometimes. A soh poilu wooden spoon, she said. It will save us. Your spoon, dry knuckle of tree, stowed in apron pocket to stay calm, comes from earth, mineral. How soh, coyote always carried. Such things always carry the sound of onomatopoetic blood gushing out. Soh, soh, soh. The wife of cannibal, she took the spoon, and spoon become a canoe. Shard of mountain, a curve of a ladle to stay animal. Ask yourself many times. Save a spoon to believe a spoon, not a knife. Soh is after, knife beats spoon. Cannibal had wanted to feast on the baby. A canoe carried them away. I'm going to read one last poem, and I want to say this poem is in conversation with Tanya Lucan-Linkletter's work on scores, because this particular poem is about teaching the word kawa, which means then, as in a sequence of events, kawatit, which is at the same time, and then kawo, which is an emphatic then, which means and then, and thus, and now. So this poem is called Kawa, and this is about reclamation. Kawa, then. A letter arrived from the Department of Interior. The letter said, "It has come to our attention that your dictionary has a word for condor. The entry is an error. There are no condors in Idaho." Kawa, then. We said, it is not a mistake. Kunis lived here long before the ranchers came. Kawa, then. The ranchers split open cattle and filled them with poison to kill the himen and destroy the kunis. Kawatit, at the same time, soldiers soaked the prairie with blood, and the grasses shuddered under the weight of falling kok'ach. And Kawatit, at the same time, Indian people starved. Kawatit, at the same time, squatters fired their guns into trees and waited for Sakantaich to tumble down, tossing them in piles like firewood and setting them aflame. Kawatit, at the same time, soldiers lined up captive warriors and shot their sikkim, one by one, gun barrel nuzzled into ear or belly, and oh, the sound of shots, and oh, the sound of mamen buckling to the ground. Kawatit, at the same time, miners captured chachats and forced her to fight a bull to the death. They extracted her claws to wear around their necks, and oh, how they bragged that they had killed everyone. Kawatit, at the same time, we could not save them. Kawatit, at the same time, we did not forget their names. We breathed their names. We cried for them. Air and memory held. And now, kawo, kunis circles back. Yeah.
Iwan Jahotan, Kevakidum, Hakulo Imanch. Me estoy alegre de estar aquí con todos ustedes. Gracias, Beth, and I don't know where Lori is. Oh, Lori. For this very generous imagining of what we might do alongside one another. It's been lucky to be across from and alongside and in migration with Craig and the poets who have been alongside Craig. And gracias also, Natalia, for your generous energy that we were allowed to be in. Poetry is, I often say, is not, and maybe least of it is what we encounter on the page as writers or readers. It is also the way we carry our beloveds, our wounds and wonders, our dreams and wishes for this relentless and miraculous world. I lost my brother midway through our final, the fall semester. And while, of course, there's no healing or balm even for something like that, being alongside the poets and all of you was definitely a reminder that I'm not alone in anything I do, that I am of consequence to you all, and you all are of consequence to me. And that I think maybe most importantly, what poetry might do and what you all did for me is that while I carry the stones or salts or honey or blooming, even in my smallest life, I am also carried. And so mil gracias for that. I will again invoke, which I've done a few times, the generosity and fierce love and language of Inez, a wonderful poet, person, in saying, tonight I touch my mouth. And let all my poems speak toward Palestine. And I'm reading from my computer, which is not something I do and kind of drives me crazy, but I lost my poems, they're somewhere out there. Probably at a bar, unfortunately. And this is, this actually, I began writing this in a conversation I had here in art. The very first time I think I was alongside you reading. That was our first encounter. And it references George Nakashima, a Japanese architect and designer who was also interned in Minidoka in Idaho. I think a lot about furniture and its occupation. The fact that in Palestine, I've seen it with my own eyes, settlers will come in and take the furniture of people who, while they're away, and then occupy their homes or build on top of their homes, so that they must walk through the Palestinians' family's living room to get to their house upstairs. So I think a lot about that. And of course, my mother. Pandemic furniture. It's violence. A condition of occupation, complement of its occupants and their furniture, each uncountable as damage. Furniture determines an individual's world in relationship to the universe, not the universe itself. Furniture and its personal belongings. I am holding my mother's purse and her phone. This hospital chair is an event of my body. Flexed calf, ankle hooked around the chair leg, the confusion of chair and the body, our unrestful living, Sarinan's slum of legs. I'm always abiding the bodies who don't love us, to abide the body I love. One of these bodies is pandemic, the other is an emergency. A bed is shaped for what is done there. My mother is in the hospital bed. I tell her and her wound, rest, but don't dream. Abide, but don't dwell. The furniture beetles arrive with their instruments of work. A group of furniture beetles is called an infection. One bores into my mother's foot. Why her foot, I ask. Appendages, furniture, echoes the furniture beetle, descending her wound. My mother tells a joke. A coffin is not furniture, but its handles are. I try moving my mother's womb from her foot to the other side of the room, but I am bad at domestics, and the wound remains. I'm considering becoming part of the furniture, the wound says, spilling dust from itself or my mother. Furniture is not the body, but what they do to ours. I press the red button. The nurse arrives, says the wound has remained long enough to be classified by the health department as an abode. I look inside. The wound has a bed with the full set of linens, an entire dining room, a dresser with drawers of silk socks, a small pistol with a wooden grip. The nurse says, let's not say occupation. Let's say your mother is a host. I tell my mother, next time we're asking for an unfurnished wound. My mother says, they don't require a table and chairs to make use of us. And this is thinking alongside Beth, your poems, and thinking toward our murdered, missing, and Indigenous women, and Two-Spirit and trans persons, and of course the martyrs of Palestine. Colony. The coyotes are on the beach, vacuuming tonight's terrible light with their eyes. They puncture the river sleep with holes of blue-green eyeshine. The river rolls over, awake. The coyotes are baptizing the rabbits, dunking them in the shallow water. The rabbits play dead in the coyotes' mouths, but jolt and cry out when they break the water. The river is cold, and they shake, the rabbits. I've never seen a rabbit swim, and no rabbits will swim tonight. The river because it is the scene of their crimes. The river because it will clean us of what the rabbits have done. The rabbits are not from here. They come from another territory of night, from a different moon. The rabbits are white, which is not a color, but how fast it twitches. The rabbits disappear our women. Maybe not these rabbits yet, but rabbits like these, and soon. White rabbits as call and response, a multiplication. The game where everyone holds hands, then someone squeezes, sends a signal, and everyone sends the same signal they receive. If that game were forever and played by rabbits, rabbits so white their eyes are pink. The rabbits took my cousin. They collapsed her down to a greasy spot somewhere, like when your brother backs the truck out of the driveway and the truck leaves behind an iridescent liqueur on the ground, so you sprinkle sand over it to absorb the stain. The coyotes are a night shift, a labor of shades against the pebbled shore. They are a range of blue-black mountains reorganizing weight, a dusk. With more night happening, the rabbits become stranger. Their ears are slicked back, like men. I try not to ask myself, what is a rabbit? I can't explain the rabbit, but I feel it. I've felt it my entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. I don't know what it is, but it's there, a white blot in my mind. The question distracts me, and a rabbit kicks its body free. The noisy shadow tangles and disrupts the coyote's feet. One of the coyote's shape transforms. It opens all of its mouths and recaptures the rabbit. At first, the cry of a rabbit is the cry of a baby. Then the cry becomes something there are no words for. The cry of a rabbit will make you cry, unless you are hungry, or the rabbit has pulled your cousin out of your life by her hair. The coyotes plunge the rabbit into the river 4 times. One of the rabbit's ears flap in the wind like empty violet shirt sleeves. Each time they are sunk in the water, the rabbits become more quiet. The silence embers the coyote's eyes copper, chrysocolla. Some of the rabbits hang upside down, staring off and soothed by the moon, who is also soaked with river and whose light trickles out from the middle of the water to the shore in tremors. Wounds move this same drenched way. The mesquite trees along the jetty are tap-rooted in the water. When you gash a mesquite trunk or cut its branches, its skin seeps red gold sap, weeps and crusts an amber blister. The rabbits wish to begin healing, but their wounds are happening now. The rabbits wish to cicatrix. Rabbits are always too late. The rabbit's cries have become choked with water or the coyote's teeth, most likely with blood and fur, a burbling. The river and its bullfrogs are also sounds. A fish leaps from the water and falls back into it. I should have said the rabbits were screaming, not crying. I'm the one crying. On nights like this, everything is wet as tears. The coyotes move in a group how mourners move around a pyre, how authorities move to the door of a family whose daughter or mother has gone missing. Not a tight pack, but a breathing, how fingers brush one another on their own hand. The coyotes' tails are down. The rabbits aren't saying anything anymore. They were another kind of quiet before this, before the screaming. The rabbits have never wanted to talk about what they have done. This rabbit quiet is a new quiet. Tufts of pale fur rock in a foam onto the shore, then off, back to, and off again. It never settles. The coyotes clean the rabbits with the river and clean us of the rabbits. They lick the terrible light from one another's faces and eyes. But what the rabbits have done is still done. The coyotes know this and cry the spilling moonlight back to the moon. The moon crusts and closes. The coyotes leave the beach one at a time. We are all clean and lonely. I think a lot about the Minotaur, and this poem is, I was thinking a lot about my brothers when I wrote this, and also thinking about what it's, just some of the questions that I find the world or the U.S. asks me in relationship to who I am as a Native, as a queer person, as a Latina, as whatever else it thinks I am. I, Minotaur. I am an invention, dark alarm, Briareus's hand striking the bells of my blood. Whose toll am I? I think too much. Each morning, the Minotauramaki. Through the night, I swing the sickle of my wonders, a harvest work of touch and worry. Spin dawn and its day, burning my dead. Who fell in the night? What the night reaped. I am every answer, a mathematics of anxiety, how any mall can solve the mesquite tree for the pyre. In my chest, I am two-hearted always, love and what love becomes, arrive when they want to, and hungry. The locusts disappeared the fields, then themselves. I bent, wept alone on the threshing floor, not for what went stick to the feast, I wept for the locusts. I know what it's like to be appetite of your own appetite, citizen of what savages you, to dare bloom pleasure from your wounds and to bleed out from that bouquet. A head like mine was shaped on thirst. I dream what is wet or might quench, aquifers, rivers, cenotes, canals, the dusked mirage of lake above your knee. I sip and lick, my tongue blush as the fluoresced ear of a jackrabbit. I obey what I don't understand, then I become it, which needs no understanding. The astonishment of my body's limits, how it is easily divided by a black field, and the black field multiplied in stars, the throng of a lover constellating. Like any desert, I learn myself by what's desired of me. and I am demoned by those desires. For this I move like a wound, always and fruiting, sweetened by the thorn. The tumbleweed turns and turns until it bursts free all its spores into the wind, until it is only what it might become. There is no such thing as time or June, only what you were born into, only waiting for the rain, for the flood, for what erupts my badlands and my tired eyes in beauty. Mojave aster, desert globe mallow, where once was terrible nothing. There is no God here in these flesh hours, though your jaw is a temple and your hips strike like an axe. The labrys I injure myself again. But you, called to hear by me, come softly into the bull noon of my body, and not unknowingly. You've heard me churn and lather, yet knock and enter. Together we are the color of magnets, and also their doing. Manganese, lodestone, ores the light will not touch, so we touch the light. Give it to one another until we are riddled and leaking with it. What else can we prostrate or set before the large feet of our creators, if not the diminishment of the body, this book of scars? Sands grind like gears between my teeth, sparkling small machinery of want. What question can I ask the thing I am? All I have done and failed to do. The furrows I tear with my grief mouth. A map of myself carved by my own horns. I have a name, yet no one who will say it not roughly. I am your native, and this is my American labyrinth. Here I am at your thighs, lilac-lit pools of ablution. Take my body and make of it a nation, a confession. Through you, even I can be clean. And then I'll end on this poem, Horse. You invoked the horse. And also writing this, having been to Palestine a few times, I could never write about it. It took I think the first time I went was like 2017, 16 maybe. But it took me until just this past year to write about it, and I was thinking about this through thinking of my desert. So I'll end on this poem. It also has some lines from Paul Celan, the Jewish poet, Alchemy Horse. American, they said, but horse I dreamed, and horse became. I was cleaved from human earth, red sap, lymph, calcium, atlas of femur, a new chaos, come forth through the world's foaming crust, then licked into Myron skin, a flesh being bearing its first dream self. I came to life how stars appear, collapsed till struck to light. Dream erupted, Gila monsters, lava black, land, and all its thunders. In this great magnetic field, I am a knowledge system. My hair is a tangled Mojave dictionary, and my tongue is a danger. I speak a dark whip into the Habub's gold throb. This valley's bright weather is my ceremony. Flash flood is my medicine, how I clean myself of self. America, hoard of property, is a debris of my cells. Limestone, wound porous, seafloor, basalt, trilobite, camel bones, glass, and Black Mountain. We professional mourners crying for our lives and for hire. From dark colonies in the caves behind our hearts, we weep the sun to fall and bats into the sky. We weep the saguaros to bloom, eastward and moon white, soft-petaled wounds circling their night wrists and crowns. Grief is our lush and luxury, the strain of anything that grows, sand rose, ironwood, smoke tree. We tend dune gardens from deadlands, till the halite beds reap selenite thorns from the horned toads' backs. In the AM heat warp, vultures ripple the violet sky dome, a swarm of blood-gloved archivists. They skywrite directions to the museum, to the university, to the hospital. In this epic of citizenship, I must arrive everywhere twice, occupied and unceded. One hand, the comet, the other hand, who makes the comet come? So call me lodestone or alone, whisper me secret magnet. In pink twilight, my love and I are effigies, leaching salt through our terracotta hands. My language, clays and maps, amaranth lather along my thigh. A migration of exile, a self-determined relocation of pleasure, want-need. We are the origin, oxygen and always becoming, bloodworms from which new land might grow. How we make soil, then mud where we laid, alchemy of our wet denim skins and gravity. We pulse, animal and sensual, thundercats of love greening the desert, pale grasses, fruit in my breath, gray-green along the belly of the night branch. We are unacreable. We abrade the transit, the survey, hold tight and repeat ourselves in crystal lattice. Come morning, come mercury light, we are blessed and scattered, shards of a horsehead water jar, lonely for a body and aching for the cool taste and shape the first water once took. This nation is a white, bright magnesium Indian burn. I fume and illumine in its quantum arson, Indian iron alchemy horse. My brothers are the cold killers, shovelers of silver anthracite, fuel gods of the midnight train, boxcar, jump track, jolt light, vaporing night salt to cloud, mustanging. Every desert highway is sacred, and gas station pumps break our hearts. We have petal bones white doctors call coffin bones. That's why I'm always dying. That's why I'm always half ghost, half back, half dressed as the war party who will return with a full tank of gas and a stick of scalps. Tonight, the city is a tectonic bone radio. Our ancestors are on every channel. Scorpions whip and fluoresce from the shadows of settler houses. Green-eyed wolf spiders emerge from their dens to join the dark hunt. The midnight train monsoons around the bend, recognizes me as relation and cries, chukshon, chukshon, chukshon. We are each the other's passenger. On the horizon, my warrior's volcano. I shatter cinders from my hair. I watch them eat the day aliens with flame. American Indian horsepire. The Hokum canals crack awake, gush their ghost waters through the settlement streets, blister and bone flower. I war whoop out into the empty, displaced hip of the ghost sea, and the ghost sea war weeps back, spiraling the etched shells of my ears. America, haunted hotel, shiprock, rock wreck, ship of fools, little giant cemetery of braids. Beloved occupiers, I am posting notice. There is no more vacancy. When this world has ended, I will carry my people home. Mil gracias.
Hafade. Saina Ma'asi, thank you everyone for coming today. It's amazing to see such a full house. Thank you to Lori, the Arts Research Center, and the Engaging Census Foundation, all the co-sponsors for having us. Thank you to all the fellows for being so inspiring this entire year. Thank you to Beth for your beautiful reading, but also for inviting me to be part of this project. And thank you, Natalie. It's been such an honor to finally share a stage with you. I want to dedicate my reading today to my partner, Olivia. Thank you for traveling with me to Berkeley. Thank you also to Natalia for the introduction. It is nice to be back on campus. and always a blessing to be on Ohlone lands as well. I'm going to read poems related to themes of Indigenous reclamation and trans-Indigenous relations. I'll give a little brief intro to each of the poems, and I'll also be accompanied by P.C. Munoz, who's a San Francisco-based Chamoru artist, musician, and writer, and he's going to be playing, yes. He's going to be playing a slapstick instrument, whose sound is reminiscent of a traditional Chamorro gourd and string instrument. It's a real cultural honor for me to be performing with PC. We've been dreaming of collaborating for years, and he was actually one of the first avant-garde Pacific Islander poets I've ever read, so his work has been really influential to shaping my own. All right, this first poem, I want to dedicate it to Beth, actually. Beth was my dissertation chair, and I was a grad student in her Native American literature and theory class back in like 2008, and that was when I really started thinking about connections between Native Americans and Pacific Islanders. And so this poem kind of came out of that class. It's called Interwoven, and it was written for Indigenous Peoples Day. I come from an island, and you come from a continent. Yet we're both made of stories that teach us to remember our genealogies, to care for our sacred ecologies. I come from an island, and you come from a continent, yet we both know invasion. Magellan breached our reef 30 years after Columbus raided your shore. They baptized us in disease, violence, and genocide. We carry this deep grief of survival. I come from an island and you come from a continent, yet we both know the disciplined walls of boarding schools. They punished us for breathing our customs and speaking our languages, forced us to memorize the Western curriculum of fear and silence. I come from an island and you come from a continent, yet we both know desecration. They extracted minerals, trees, wildlife, food crops, and blood. We inherited this intergenerational removals. I come from an island and migrated to your continent. Hundreds of thousands of us have settled in your territories for military service, education, healthcare, and jobs. We've been so busy searching for better lives, we didn't ask your permission. We didn't even recognize how our American dream was your American nightmare. Today, I want my people, us, to see you, reviving your languages and cultures, restoring native schools and tribal governments, planting heritage seeds and decolonizing your diets, blockading pipelines and protesting mining, fighting for renewable energy and sustainable futures. Native cousins, I want us to see you dancing, chanting, drumming, rapping, writing, researching, publishing, animating, filming, gaming, and revitalizing ancestral stories. I come from a sea of islands that we call a blue continent, and you come from a continent that you call Turtle Island. So today, let us share our stories of hurt, stories of healing, so that 7 generations from now, our descendants will continue interweaving our struggles, our radical hopes, our decolonial love. May our stories carry all us towards sovereign horizons. So I should have said, he's never read these poems. I've never heard him play live before. This is truly improvisation. All right, this next poem is something I think Native Americans and Pacific Islanders kind of bring us together. It's a poem about one of our traditional foods, Spam. This is a prose poem, so on the page it looks like a meaty block of text. And this is a call and response poem, so when I say the word spam, you say the word spam. 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 This poem is titled The Absolutely True Legend of Spam. Guam is considered the spam capital of the world. On average, each Chamoru consumes 16 tins of spam each year, which is more per capita than any other country. Spam has a place not only in the stomachs of my people, but in our hearts as well. Here, spam is considered a gourmet luxury and is often presented as a gift at birthdays, weddings, and funerals. Guam, the name itself, is an acronym for Give Us American Meat. Spam was born on July 5th, 1937 in Austin, Minnesota, the home of Hormel. Our guttural love of spam started in 1944 when the shiny cans were birthed from U.S. aircraft carriers and served to our war-torn island. My starving grandma describes spam as manna from heaven, and this fateful day is commemorated as the feast day of the Immaculate Consumption. Spam is also popular in Hawaii, the Philippines, Okinawa, and South Korea, all places with a history of U.S. military presence. In fact, some historians argue that spam may have been responsible for Hitler's defeat. The Allies would not have won World War II without spam. Plus, it's processed, so I guess we can keep it for the next war between the U.S. and China or Russia. You can rub the entire block of spam along with the accompanying delicious gelatinous goo onto your wood furniture. The oils from the spam moisturize the wood and give the furniture a nice luster. Plus, you have enough left over to use as your own sexual lubricant. A perfect indigenous dinner date. Maybe the economic downturn and impending climate apocalypse will help people appreciate spam instead of loathing it. Spam doesn't have to be unhealthy. I eat spam every day and I'm not dead yet. Just switch to spam light. My food philosophy is simple. I eat, therefore I spam. Turkey spam, hot and spicy spam, garlic spam, Portuguese sausage flavored spam, WSFWJE. What spam flavor would Jesus eat? At the spam factory, nearly 20,000 hogs are slaughtered every day. More than 1,000 severed pig heads slide down the conveyor belt per hour. Undocumented migrants slice ears, clip snouts, chisel cheeks, scoop eyes, carve tongues, and scrape mouths. Hashtag everything but the squeal. Every 3 seconds, a compressed air hose blasts pig brains from a denuded skull into a barrel. Rosy mist, strawberry milkshake, Pepto-Bismol. Google the spam factory's dirty little secret. The name itself stands for Specially Processed Army Meal. Super pink artificial meat. Squirrel, porcupine, and moose. Or the native version, sacred pork and medicine? My uncle is the reigning Guam spam king. He won the last spam cook-off with his spicy spam meatballs. He won a free round-trip ticket to the 14,000 square foot spam museum in Minnesota. Hashtag Cubist art you can eat. When he returned, he gifted me a spam snow globe featuring a can of spam sitting on an island. Turn it over and a typhoon swirls madly, unable to unseat spam from its place of honor. I have a souvenir can I bought after seeing Monty Python's Spam a lot in Broadway in New York City. It cost me $10 and is the most expensive spam I have ever bought. Once upon a time, a Chamoru brother and sister on Guam refused to eat spam. So their authentic indigenous grandmother banished them from our island and cursed them to a life as diasporic vegetarians. The siblings migrated to Minnesota, where they opened the world's first vegan butcher shop and sold meatless meats at farmers markets and pop-up culinary events. They dream of creating the perfect vegan spam. They try combinations of vital wheat gluten, garbanzo beans, tapioca flour, peanut butter, and spices. The flavor's good, but the texture's off, they say in unison. Spam is just a difficult whale to catch. If they ever succeed, I will never eat it. Thank you. All right, it's hard to follow that poem. If only I had a collection of National Book Award-winning poems, that would go good after that. No, I'm playing. This next poem is from my newest book, and this book is actually dedicated to my grandmother, and this is actually a picture I took of her the last time I was in Guam in 2018, and it was sadly the last time I saw her live as well. And it's a little picture of her playing bingo. And so this poem kind of, again, relates to indigenous themes of grandmothers and bingo. It's for Grandma Perez. She was born in 1922, passed away in 2018. This poem is titled, The Patron Saint of Bingo. Bingo is not indigenous to Guam. Yet here we are in the air-conditioned community center next to the village Catholic church. You set the bingo cards and ink daubers on the table. You sit in your wheelchair, an ancient sea turtle. This has been your daily ritual, daily prayer. But the last time I played bingo was with you was 30 years ago, when I was still a teenager and still lived on islands. I remember when you won, you humbly whispered, bingo. Collected the prize money and drove us to McDonald's for filet of fish and french fries. And when you lost, you never cursed, merely said, "Agupa, tomorrow we'll feel lucky." Either way, you always smile during bingo. Here, no one punishes you for speaking our language. Here, no war invades and occupies life. Here, no soldiers force you to bow to a distant emperor or pledge allegiance to a violent flag. Here, no nation steals our land. Here, you're safe to gossip and play. We watch the bingo balls turn in the wire cage like giant beads from a broken rosary. You turn 95 years old this year, making you the eldest manumko in this room. I don't tell you this, and don't tell my grandma this either, but I no longer attend Mass. Yet here I am, praying to the patron saint of bingo, to call forth your fateful combination of letters and numbers. I pray for you to win, not for the gambler's rush or the sin of money. I pray for you to win because you carry so much loss, having outlived Grandpa and all your siblings and childhood friends. Suddenly, someone else screams, "Bingo!" You sigh, put down the ink dauber, and sink back into the shell of your wheelchair. When's your flight to Hawaii, you ask me? Agupa, Grandma. Tomorrow. But today I feel so lucky for this chance to play bingo with you one last time. Just two more poems. This next poem is the last one from my new book, and I got to read this poem at the National Book Award ceremony, and I was very proud. At the end of that ceremony, all the winners from this year and the finalists, most of the finalists, stood up on stage together and read a solidarity statement calling for a ceasefire and in support of Palestine. This poem is called The Pacific Written Tradition. And just a little bit of context, I wrote this in 2011 when my second book came out, and I worked with the Guam Humanities Council to fly back home and to give a bunch of readings and workshops to like the local high schools and the community college and university. And this poem kind of emerged out of one of my experiences during that time. It's called The Pacific Written Tradition. I read aloud from my new book to an English class at one of Guam's public high schools. Afterwards, I notice a student crying. "What's wrong?" I ask. She says, "I've never seen our culture in a book before. I just thought we weren't worthy of literature." I wonder how many young islanders have dived into the depths of a book only to find bleached coral and emptiness. We were taught that missionaries were the first readers in the Pacific because they could decipher the strange signs of the Bible. We were taught that missionaries were the first authors in the Pacific because they possessed the authority of written words. Today, studies show that Islander students read and write below grade level. It's natural, experts claim. Your ancestors were an illiterate, oral people. Do not believe their claims. Our ancestors navigated the Pacific by deciphering signs in nature, star formations and sun positions, cloud and wind patterns, wave currents, and ocean efflorescence. That's why Master Navigator Papa Mau once said, quote, "If you can read the ocean, you will never be lost," end quote. Now let me tell you about Pacific written traditions, how our ancestors tattooed their skin with scripts of intricately inked genealogy, how they carved epics into hard wood with a sharpened point, their hands and the pressure and responsibility of memory, how they stenciled petroglyphic lyrics on cave walls with clay, fire, and smoke. So the next time someone tells you our people were illiterate, teach them about our visual literacies, our skill to imagine the intertextual sacredness of all things. And always remember, if we can write the ocean, we will never be silenced. All right, final poem. It's actually a piece from my previous book, Habitat Threshold, which came out in 2020. And this poem was written for a solidarity event in Hawaii to kind of raise awareness and funds for Standing Rock. And so I wrote this poem to kind of imagine connections between the kind of water struggles happening here on this continent, as well as in the Pacific and around the world. It is a call and response poem again. And so when I say the word say, say spam is life. No, I'm kidding. No, say water is life. And I know it's a multilingual audience, so you can say it in all your languages. That would be beautiful. All right, this poem is called Chanting the Waters. Say, because our bodies are 60% water. Because water breaks forth from contracting tectonic plates. Because my daughter crowned like a new island. Because amniotic fluid is 90% water. Because she breathed and breathed and breathed. Because our lungs are 80% water. Say. Because we tell creation stories about water. Because our language flows from water. Because our words are islands writ on water. Because it takes more than 3 gallons of water to make a single sheet of paper. Say. Because water is the next oil. Because 180,000 miles of U.S. oil pipelines leak every day. Because we wage war over gods and water and oil. Say. Because our planet is 70% water. Because it takes 2 gallons of water to refine 1 gallon of gasoline. Because it takes 20 gallons of water to make a pound of plastic. Because it takes 600 gallons of water to make 1 hamburger. Because the average American water footprint is 2,000 gallons a day. Say. Because 1 billion people lack access to drinking water. Because women and children walk 4 miles every day to gather clean water and deliver it home. Say. Because our bones are 30% water. Because our bodies won't survive a week without water. Say. Because corporations privatize, dam, and bottle our waters. Because plantations divert our waters. Because animal slaughterhouses consume our waters. Because pesticides, chemicals, lead, and waste poison our waters. Say. Because they bring their bulldozers and drills and drones. Because we bring our feathers and lei and sage and shells and canoes and hashtags and totems. Because they call us savage and primitive and riot. Because we bring our treaties and the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Because they bring their banks and politicians and paychecks and pepper spray and bullets. Because we bring our songs and schools and prayers and chants and ceremonies. Because we say stop. Keep the oil in the ground. Because they say shut up and vanish. But we are not moving because we bring all our relations and all our generations and all our live streams. Say. Because our drumming sounds like rain after drought echoing against taut skin. Because our skin is 60% water. Say. Because every year millions of children die from waterborne diseases. Because every day thousands of children die from waterborne diseases. Because by the end of this poem, 5 children will die from waterborne diseases. Say. Because my daughter loves playing in the ocean. Because someday she'll ask, where does the ocean end? Because we'll point to the dilating horizon. Because our eyes are 95% water. Because we'll tell her ocean has no end. Because sky and clouds lift ocean. Because mountains embrace ocean into blessings of rain. Because ocean, sky, rain fills aquifers and lakes. Because ocean, sky, rain, lake flows into the Missouri River. Because ocean, sky, rain, lake, river returns to the Pacific and connects us to our cousins at Standing Rock. Because our blood is 90% water. Say. Because our hearts are 75% water. Because I'll teach my daughter our people's word for water, hanum, hanum, hanum. So the sound of water will always carry her home. Say. 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 Thank you. Thus concludes Reclamation, the Gathering. The quickening is next year. Just kidding. Thank you all again for coming this afternoon. Thank you to Natalie and Beth for your amazing work. There is reception, book signing in the lobby. We would all love to spend more time talking with you. If you get a chance to meet the fellows, please do so. Otherwise, get home safely in this weather. And thank you again for coming. Stand up,